Hey, this is Victoria, and I'm here again with James, aka Simon Black, who has some amazing news to share. And the news is that he just had the baby recently in Mexico. How do you feel?
Amazing. It's my first, so I'm in my early 40s. So a lot of people get started like in their in their teens and
20s?
20s, or at least, yeah. I mean, I feel like I got a lot of friends that are having kids now, but they're like in their early 30s. So I mean, I'm definitely late to the game, and it's one of those things I never thought I would do. But that's you change your point of view about a lot of things in life, and that was one of the things I really changed my point of view on last year. And anyways, long story short, yeah, made a conscious decision to have the baby here in Mexico, and it was I just got to say, one of the best. I could not have asked for a better experience than what we had here in Mexico. It was everything about it was just phenomenal. My experience here has been just phenomenal. If people have been reading notes to the field, like, oh, he's in Cancun. Oh, he's been there for a little while. That's what I've been doing here. I've
Do
been
you
camped
wanna
out.
do you wanna tell us why Mexico? Why you chose Mexico out of all the
Yeah,
places?
yeah, of all the places in the world. Well, so my baby has 5 passports. That's cool, but to be honest, not because there were so many. That wasn't really the main driver. It didn't really affect the calculus a whole lot. But I will tell you, so I live in Puerto Rico. That is my primary residence, and I have my house there, and all my stuff and everything is in Puerto Rico. I spent almost the entirety of last year there, like a lot of people, didn't exactly travel a whole lot. But when we knew the baby was coming late last year, immediately started kind of thinking about, okay, where are we going to do this? And the thing is, there are a lot of, just total honesty, there are a lot of really wonderful things about Puerto Rico. Like any place, there's some wonderful things and there's some not wonderful things. And in my experience, and I would say, Victoria, yours too,
Yeah.
one of the not so great experiences has been, at least personally, other people may have different experiences,
Yeah.
but personally, what I experienced, and I know some of the things that you've witnessed as well, from in terms of the medical care, I just thought, this isn't where I'm going to have my child. This is
Not the
not going to
best
be
place
here.
for that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there was one night a long time ago. I mean, it would have been in I don't know, late in the fall of last year, for example. I had like a late night trip to the emergency room, and it was just horrible, just horrible. Dealing with that, going through some experiences trying to deal with the hospital system early in the pregnancy when we were still in Puerto Rico, and having to deal with that. I mean, I remember she was telling me, it's like I was trying to get a hold of one of the OBGYNs in the clinic. I was a little just calling and calling and calling, could not get anybody to answer the phone. I mean, it's just things about it that are honestly kind of typical for Puerto Rico. Again, not a negative judgment on Puerto Rico as a whole. There are a lot of really wonderful things about it, but the experiences that we had, and I know you had some,
Yeah.
at least you witnessed some bizarre things. And as a guy in Puerto Rico that you knew who got COVID, was basically thrown out of the hospital
He
and
was
just dumped
left
on the
sitting on a sidewalk,
dumped
basically.
dumped onto the street,
Yeah.
out of the hospital, because they just didn't want to deal with it. And it's like, oh my God. I mean, it's just, and so I just sort of the aggregate of all those things together, just thought, in no way am I going to have my child here. So the first thing that came to mind, the first place that came to mind was Chile.
Chile, yeah, you spent a lot of
And
time there.
right, exactly. And so, I'm still, chairman of the agriculture business there, and just have a great network, very close to a lot of people in Chile. Have a lot of people who can kind of help out. Have a, place to stay with land where everything, all the food is organic, and
Yeah.
it's off grid, and clean water, and solar panels and everything. You eat comes from the garden, and the people go out and they pick the tomatoes and they make the, and it's just that. And I thought, well, that's perfect. That's the place. I think, if you're, going to be pregnant, and you want to be in a really clean place. I mean, it's just a perfect place to be. But you know me, like I'm always a plan A, plan B kind of guy. And in January, we were already kind of thinking about, okay, where's the plan B? And in January, Victoria, we had our event in Cancun.
That's right.
And we had a total access event in Cancun. And one of the speakers there was sort of in medical tourism.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was talking about medical tourism, and I kind of pulled him aside. We were talking about babies and said, one of the things do you do births in Mexico? He goes, oh yeah, it's like my biggest thing that I do. And he's a Russian guy. And so most of his clients are Russian. And so they come over from like Russia and whatever, Kazakhstan and Ukraine and Belarus and stuff, and they have their babies here in Mexico. And he said, it's brisk business. And it's funny is because all those guys in Russia and Belarus, et cetera, they come here because they know that the baby is going to be born with a Mexican passport. And that for them, that's a really big deal because, if you're from Belarus or something like that, it's hard. Like your passport is not a good quality passport. You can't really go to too many places. You need visas everywhere. But Mexico's a good quality passport.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where it ranks in our sovereign man passport ranking, but it's definitely a lot higher than Belarus. It's pretty good passport to have. Yeah, and you can go a lot of places visa free, even Europe and all over Latin America, et cetera. It's a good passport to have. And those guys, like in different parts of the world, like in Eastern Europe and former Soviet republics, they get that. They understand that intuitively. You don't have to explain that to them. Like, oh, well, I get this good passport. So this gentleman that runs this, sort of medical tourism business here, he's like, yeah, it's hugely popular with a lot of people in former Soviet republics. And so they all come over here. And I said, okay, well, I'm interested. And, but for me, the most important thing, obviously, is the quality of the care. Sure, the passport's fine, but no matter what, like she's going to have a ton of passports anyways. It's all fine. So I just want to know how's the quality of the care. And so we sat down, we had a bunch of, at that point, I was already back in Puerto Rico. It was after the event was over. We'd flown back to Puerto Rico, but we started setting up Zoom meetings with the physicians and the different facilities and things like that. And it was great. And I thought, okay, yeah, this is perfect. Because for me, we were talking about the natural, wanted to do a natural birth process and all this sort of thing. And it's a really big deal for her. She said, I don't want to have a C-section at all. And if unless it's absolutely, medically necessary. And essentially because, C-sections have become more and more prominent around the world. And you listen to some doctors talk about it, and in some respects, it happens just because either the doctor isn't willing to take any risks at all, or they just, don't want their schedule to be terribly inconvenienced. In different parts of the world, in Latin America in particular, C-sections are more often what happens in pregnancies. Natural birth is actually quite rare. And so we were very clear with the physician. We said, look, if we end up doing Mexico, that's the standard. Under no circumstances do we want a cesarean unless it is medically necessary, literally to save the life of the mother or child. So we were really happy with the conversations. We thought, okay, we're totally on the same page. We got a doctor who herself actually had, young children and had gone sort of through everything herself, and it was perfect. And so we thought, okay, yeah, we like Mexico. We felt like our plan B was so good. We were already sort of thinking like, maybe this is plan A. And that's really the kind of the goal of a great plan B. You love your plan Bs. It's so good. You start thinking like, maybe this is actually plan A. But at that point we went back to Chile, and then, so we were in Chile, and it was like March, late February, I think I went back to Chile. And, we're there, we were at one of the farms, and it was great. It was just, it was perfect. It was ideal. February, March, that's summertime in South America. And so it was just, all the organic fruits, everything is ripe, the vegetables and the corn and the wheat, and with going out and taking the olives and pressing olive oil and everything. It's totally self-sufficient out there. I mean, we have wheat, we take the grain, bake our own bread and everything. It's perfect. It's perfect. But then the government of Chile started acting pretty funny, and then this is summertime now, and so then they started imposing local lockdowns. It was sort of sector by sector, municipality by municipality. They said, okay, this little municipality, we're going to put you, they had this system, it's Paso Uno, Paso Dos, Paso Tres. And then so they said, okay, we're going to put these guys in the more severe lockdowns and these guys in the weekend lockdown. So you could go live your life in the capital city of Santiago Monday through Friday. Then the weekends came and everybody had to stay home and all these sorts of things. And I thought, this is weird to me, because simultaneously they are really pushing vaccines out to everybody. And we know a lot of people that had them. And at the time, Chile was, and still is, one of the most vaccinated countries in the world in terms of its, percentage of the adult population, but population in general that's vaccinated. And yet they were going and they're saying, oh, our COVID cases are going through the roof. And everybody's got to keep getting vaccinated, but you have to stay home. And it's like, whoa, hang on, buddy. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways and then say everything's fine and going according to plan and keep getting vaccinated, but keep locking yourselves down. It just doesn't work like that. You can't have it both ways. And it just made me think. They started with the restrictions and increasing the restrictions and increasing the restrictions. And I just thought, nah, you know what, like they're going to do something stupid. And then, by the time my child is born, it's going to be wintertime in South America. This is wintertime now. And these things, these restrictions, everything, they always seem to get more severe in the wintertime anyways, as experience has kind of shown us. And I thought, I'm not going to risk it. Where they come up with some stupid rule where they're going to say, whatever, dad can't be in the delivery room, which I would lose my mind if somebody tried to keep me out. Or, mommy's got to sit there with her mask on, double masks, while she's giving birth, it's just some stupid thing like that. And I thought, I don't trust it. No, it's not going to happen. And then, right before the Easter holiday, which is in Latin America, anybody who's been down there knows it's a big deal. It's basically like Christmas and New Year sort of all over again. It's a really big deal. And they, right before, so it was like, start sort of on Good Friday. So on Thursday afternoon, late Thursday afternoon, they made an announcement. And they said, okay, so the whole place is going to shut down basically for a 4-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and probably Monday too. Right before this long weekend, they said, hey, we're gonna lock everybody down again. And then we're gonna close the borders.
Yeah.
And closing the borders, they meant not only we're going to keep people from coming into the country, into Chile, but we're also going to prevent people from leaving. And that immediately was like, I'm out. And so, she and I we were on the next flight out.
Yeah, and just to note, the borders are still closed. You need a
the borders still closed. And they said, we're only going to be closed for 30 days. Basically, before the month of April is over, the borders will be open. And I thought, no chance.
They kept extending and extending.
Right. And now, then they said, oh, now it's going to be mid-May. Then it was late May. Then it was mid-June. Now it's late June. And now, it's probably going to be, who knows? And that's an important lesson, I think, with government policy in general. Whenever they come up with something, it's like a temporary tax. There's no tax that's temporary. It doesn't exist. They said, oh, we're going to extend it a little bit more and extend it. Or emergency powers. Temporary emergency powers. There's no temporary emergency powers. The government still has its temporary emergency powers from 9/11. 20 years ago, they still have their temporary powers that they're supposed to give back immediately after the crisis. And so this is the sort of rule with government policies. I thought, no. And that was the moment. It was in late March that immediately Plan B became Plan A. And so we were on the next flight. We came to Mexico. And what was interesting is that one of the cool things about Chile is that they have a very liberal immigration policy, to where it's gotten a lot more difficult only because the system is so backlogged, because so many people have taken advantage of this. But it used to be incredibly easy to obtain residency in Chile, and it's still a straightforward process. It just takes a lot longer because so many people are just straining the system. But there's just so many people that have come from all over the world, from Haiti, from Venezuela, from other places, and so many immigrants that have really strained the immigration system in Chile. But there are just so many workers that we've brought in from all over the world to do different things. And so I brought a couple of them with me to Mexico, and that was one of the cool things about Mexico, is that they're quite welcoming as well. And I remember when we came in, we landed in Mexico City, and I was a little bit, I always, when I cross a border and I'm dealing with immigration people anywhere in the world, I always think to myself, okay, I got to get my story straight. What I'm going to tell these guys, and I didn't have a return ticket, I didn't have a ticket out of Mexico. And that's generally when you cross a border, as you know, you've done it a million times. And the first thing they ask you is like, how long are you staying?
Yeah.
And, I was just straight with the guy, and I said, honestly, dude, I don't know. And he's like, what do you mean? And I go, well, we were just in Chile and they just closed the borders. And so we left immediately and we came here. And he just looked at me and he's like, oh my God. And he just stamped all of our passports, boom, 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 boom. And he's like, welcome to Mexico. And I'm like, I don't like, that's the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
And, and then we didn't have a place to stay yet. We spent a couple of nights at that resort that you had found for us. Yeah. In Playa Mujeres. Which is an amazing place. And
I texted James. I said, I found a hotel where you don't have to wear a mask. He's like,
I was like, I'm there. Yeah. Yeah. Because, now that's in a lot of parts of the world now, that's kind of normal. But I mean, back in April, there was just, you couldn't find a place like that. And it was amazing. It was amazing. We had such a good time. And then we found a beautiful apartment here in Cancun. And basically, it's just kind of been camped out here. And really, I just got to say, like in general, my Mexico experience, everybody has their own experiences, and every place has its own sort of advantages and disadvantages. And so for me, I've been smack dab in Cancun proper, and this whole area, they call it, really a lot of people just kind of call it Cancun. They call it the Riviera, the Mayan Riviera, basically. And it's kind of this area from Cancun going down the coast all the way past Playa del Carmen and to Tulum, which, are in some respects maybe a little bit less touristy than Cancun. When you think Cancun, you might think like drunken teenagers at spring break and all that kind of stuff. My experience has been exceptional. So like I'm in Cancun proper, like even like in the middle of the hotel zone, like in the tourist. This is the tourist spot where I am. And I've never really a touristy guy. I've been to Paris probably 100 times. I don't think I've ever been to the Eiffel Tower. Like I'm just not that kind of person. But my experiences in Mexico and in Cancun have just been extraordinary. I live a normal life. I go to the gym, I go, to restaurants, all that sort of thing. Like I'm not going to Senor Frogs and discos, whatever. Like I'm way past that point in my life. And it's just, it's just not really what I'm doing. I'm just living a normal kind of life, just happen to be doing so in Cancun. But what I would say is, at least where I am, it's just been phenomenal. Now, why do I say that? So number one is the quality. So first of all, it's really cheap here.
Yeah.
And that's been great. Number two, the quality of the stuff that we have here, the quality of the things, you find just about anything that you want. I don't know there's been anything where I thought, oh, I really wish I could get, whatever, and then I haven't been able to get it. I've been able to get a lot of stuff, even stuff that I haven't been able to find in other places. Really, really high quality stuff, whatever you're into, foods and wine and, just whatever, they've got it here. It's whereas, you and I talk about this a lot, Victoria. You were just in Miami. You're talking about all the, the help wanted places. All these businesses that were driven out of business, either because of COVID or because of the consequences after COVID, where they couldn't find workers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that problem here. Here they have actual real economic problems because the economy's been slow and sluggish, and recovery slow and sluggish. And they were kind of going into recession even before COVID. And so there's a lot of, whatever it is you want, if you're looking for work or you're looking for people to hire for certain, whatever it is that you need, there's plenty of labor available.
People honestly do want to work and create value.
People really want to work.
Help you. Yeah.
Yeah. We had this apartment we rented. It's in a beautiful place. And I remember I walked in the master bedroom and I'm like looking around going, something's missing here. And I realized there was no closet. And it was a bit of a kind of a strange, floor plan, but it's a lovely place. But there's no closet in the master bedroom. And so we called the guy we rented the place from. It's the same guy that owns several of the major hotels here. And he's the owner of this place. And he's been great. And we're like, hey, look, there's no, could you guys bring us like an armoire or something? We could hang up our clothes. He's like, yeah, we'll get it done. Well, the next day, actually later that day, some guys came in and they started taking measurements. And then the next day, a whole crew of people came in and custom built a closet, like an actual like closet, like right there, like in the room, and just like crazy thing. And they did the whole thing. They finished it in 2 days. One of the foreman for the crew was such a perfectionist, and that when they got to the point where they were hanging doors on certain wardrobe closets and things like that, and he didn't have it wasn't like exactly right, and he would not leave until it was just perfectly, and you could just kind of knock it with your fingertips, and it would open and close and everything and all. And I thought, wow, that's incredible, and then it's a small example of this sort of kind of experience that I've had here. And again, people have different experiences, but it was really great. We found some exceptional, restaurants and just things we really like. The gym that I work out at is amazing. I mean, you've seen it. It's really great.
Perfect. Yeah.
It's great. It's perfect, and nobody's chasing you around, wanting you to put on 18 masks and a face shield and, hazmat suit and all this sort of stuff. I mean, you just free, just you do you, and you're free to do whatever. So yeah, I really like it. But from a medical care perspective, when was that? Probably a month and a half ago. I'm trying to remember now. I was having like some tooth problems. Yeah, I was having some tooth problems, and I went into the dentist, and it's so cheap. And they did some X-rays, and they looked and said, you got some hardcore like wisdom tooth, impaction, where these things are about to erupt. It's going to be a big problem for you. And I thought, okay, I want to deal with this now. Like, I don't want to wait until after my child's born, whatever. I just want to take care of it. So I booked an appointment. I chickened out. And then I booked another one. and anyways, I had this surgeon come in. Now I had a wisdom tooth. I had this one done, my lower, whatever, on the left side, like 10 or 12 years ago. And I was visiting Matt in Iowa, and I had like, it's just this like emergency thing. It was weird. I had like an infection in my head, all this stuff as a result. It was really nasty. It was so long ago, actually, I hadn't even met you yet. That's how far back that goes. You and I have known each other forever. So this is a long time ago. And anyways, I went in, and it was like, this is in Iowa. And I never forget this, because I'd never had anything like that before. I was like in my late 20s, and this like really like burly guy in scrubs walks in, and he's the oral surgeon. And, he gives me a shot of Novocaine, and he takes like, it was like a crowbar, and he's this like muscular guy, and he's just like wailing away, and I'm awake, and I'm just looking at this guy going, oh my God, like you just not what I would have expected. And he finally pulled this thing out, and I had my tooth, and that's what I was expecting. But then I walked in, and the surgeon walked in here in Cancun. It was this little petite lady, and I just thought, there's no way she's going to get it done. And she just went, boop, and in seconds. And I was like, did you get it? She goes, yeah, it's right here. And she showed me the tooth, and she did the other 3, sewed me up. I was out of there in, I don't know, less than an hour.
That was so quick for you. Yeah.
And and I was like, and I was waiting for the anesthesia to work. I'm like, this is going to be so much pain. And then she gave me a prescription for painkillers, and I sent somebody out to the drugstore to get the painkillers. And I never used them, because she did such an incredible job. Yeah. And the first day, it was like felt like a little bit itchy, but I didn't actually feel any real pain. I woke up the next morning. I thought, okay, no, this is going to hurt. And I never really had any pain. 2 days later, I went out to my favorite steak restaurant, and I went back. I actually booked a follow-up appointment later that week, just to go in and say, I just want you to know that you are amazing. And I was just getting to know her and her story. And she's actually Venezuelan.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, I came to Mexico because things are so crappy in my country, and like, this is a place I just wanted to practice medicine and to do what I do, and then have, be able to perform surgery, whatever. I came to Mexico, and she's like, they welcomed me here with open arms. She's telling me her story about how easy it was for her to come in and obtain residency here, and the legal permission to work and everything like that. She said, I've been here for 15 years or whatever. And she amazing. Said for her, like, it was a really great story to be able to come to Mexico, and now she's got a great practice and a great business, and it was great.
And it cost you a fraction of the cost what it would be in the US, right?
It was like a couple $100, to have all my wisdom teeth removed. But so now I want to get to the baby.
All right.
because I mean, you want to talk about shocking in terms of price, let alone quality.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you, so the physician that we have is, again, when I said earlier, I could not have asked for a better experience giving birth in Mexico. Well, I really need to stop using the first person now. So, anyways, as the dad, I could not have asked for a better experience. But and she would say the same thing. She's in the
Yeah.
other room, but and you know that, like, I mean, we had such an incredible experience. So our physician was the only way she's like a goddess in every possible way. Her knowledge, her bedside manner, that just the level of care and attention that she provided. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. So so we were, as soon as we got here, we were doing, we were immediately going in to the clinic and getting, having appointments, doing ultrasounds, every time we're going in, obviously, and all the checkups and everything like that. And she was always so just really great, really thorough, so kind, so sweet. I was telling some friends, when we went to the Atlas 400 annual meeting in May, and I was telling, there's a lot of physicians in the group, and I was telling them about this. They're like, "What's it like in Mexico?" And I'm like, "It's amazing." And so we go into all these appointments, and at the end, I would pay in cash, and it'd be 1,500 pesos, which is about $75. And I always felt like, well, that's a great deal, because she would spend so much time with us. But more importantly, I literally never once waited in line. I never once filled out a form. I was never given any paperwork. I literally did. I mean, like I would show up. We would get to the clinic. We'd go right in. I mean, there was no waiting room. There was no, like, I would just go walk right into her office and, oh, hi, and we'd sit down. They'd just take us over to the ultrasound and all that. And then, we would leave. I'd give, and every time it was just, I would even stop. I would just take 3 500 peso bills out of my wallet, and I'd lay it on the counter and walk out the door. And we had a night, and the lady would wave to me. She was like the appointment keeper and cashier or whatever. And that was it. And like, people couldn't believe it. Like, what do you mean there's no paperwork? I'm like, there's literally no paperwork. I never signed up anything. I never filled out a form. I never did anything. And so just the level of efficiency alone relative to the price was a major advantage, but the quality of the care. And so I'll go on now and just sort of give you a little bit of explanation in terms of the quality of the care. So it was, we had to induce, we were hoping to not have to do that, but relatives, babies tend to get bigger, and certain women are quite petite, and it gets to the point where the baby can outgrow the womb, and if that happened, plus she was late, and so when that happens, then the risk for C-section goes up a lot. So we said, okay, we don't want to do that. So the doctor said, okay, well, there's some things we can do to induce, and we tried the teas and the droplets and all that kind of stuff. And it just wasn't working. And the baby just wasn't interested in showing and coming out into this world just yet. So I said, okay. So we did a medical inducement. And so we had an appointment with the doctor, and she said, okay, here's she had it sitting right there. She said, here, take this, take one of these, and then, take another one in the morning. And then I said, okay. And we had a doula that was assigned as this Russian guy, assigned us a doula who came to all the appointments with us. And I said, okay, why don't you guys wait outside for a minute? I'm going to talk to the doctor by myself. And so I sat where I said, look, so we're going to take this pill tonight. She's going to go into labor tomorrow morning. She's like, yeah, that's right. I said, okay, look, I want you to come over to my house tomorrow. I want you to clear your calendar. And I want you to come over to my house tomorrow. She's like, okay. So, and I said, I know you've got young children, because she usually works in the afternoon and all that. I said, bring your kids over to my house. We've got plenty of people who can take care of them, whatever. She's like, okay. So at 8 o'clock the next morning, she shows up to my house with her kids in tow, and her mom, who she brought along to help take care of the kids. And basically, we spent all day and then the labor, the contractions started around 9. And so basically she was there all day. She brought like equipment, she's monitoring the baby's heart rate and all that kind of stuff, kind of mini ultrasound, all this stuff all day long. And then the contractions and the pains got so bad, probably maybe like 6 o'clock or something like that. At that point, her mom had taken her kids home and she was still there with us, spent all day with us in my house. We got in the car and we drove to the hospital, maybe like 5, 6 o'clock. And we went to the hospital, we went straight up to the delivery room. They have a beautiful facility where whatever it is you want to do, she wanted to do a water birth. And so they had the hot tub kind of all there filled up and everything was great. And we went straight into the delivery room, and the contractions kept going and going and going. We thought, okay, well, maybe the baby be born tonight. She was not born that night. It was like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I mean, it was
a very long night.
It was a very long night. I mean, it's 23 hours of labor. The doctor did not leave our side just to go to the bathroom.
That's
insane.
Insane.
Did not leave our side all night. Sat there all night. I got to go do some paperwork. I got to this and that. I'm going to stayed from 8 o'clock in the morning until basically 24 hours. Did not leave our side. And then when the real fun began, the fireworks with the whole thing and because I'd never done this before. So I thought it was like, if you don't have kids, it's not like it is in the movies. If you have kids, you're like, why would you think it's like what it is in the movies? I'm an idiot. I thought it was like you see on TV, whatever. It's not like it is on TV.
Yeah.
Maybe the last few minutes, a little bit, whatever. But I mean, it was just a long, waiting process. And then a whole lot of drama in between where all of a sudden it's like, the dilation isn't whatever. And then there's like risks that come up along the way.
Yeah.
And there's a certain part where, I mean, not to get too much in this, but like, the baby was stuck, and I mean, it was a whole thing. And she, really kind of, I mean, her skills really shined at that point. Her medical knowledge and her skills really shined because she was able to make, I mean, there's so many things that are going on, and she was able to make on the spot decisions in real time. I mean, it was like, it reminded me of just back in my Army days when you're in an environment and like you just got to make decisions in real time. There's all this shit happening all around you, and you just got to rise above all that, keep cool, and do what you got to do. And she was just perfect. She's bringing in all these different things and doing all the things that were necessary to accomplish the mission, which was safe, natural delivery of the child without a cesarean. And so that's what she accomplished. And there were some very risky moments, but she was able to make it happen. And anyways, so after all of that, basically 24 hours straight with us. And then I thought, okay, she's going to go crash, whatever. She stayed with us. And finally, we went back to, then we moved from the delivery room to like, we had pre-booked we pre-booked the presidential suite, which is actually, I mean, it was lovely. The hospital had a presidential suite, which was like a large, I mean, there was like a living room and like a separate bedroom and then a primary bedroom. I mean, it was a huge bathroom, and it was nice. I mean, for a hospital, it was nice.
Yeah.
And she came with us to the suite, stayed with us for a little while, and so this is now like a couple of hours after the delivery, and she's still there, and just talking to us, and providing like coaching on breastfeeding and all these sorts of things, and then she finally left, and because another one of her patients had gone into labor. And so then she went to the living room again to go and deliver the other baby. But the other baby was like really fast, and the labor was like our third child or something like that. So the labor was like an hour and a half, whatever, and that was it. And she came back. And what was amazing was that at that point everybody was awake, and the baby was having a little bit of trouble at latching on, and so the breastfeeding wasn't going very well. So she came back, and she was again like kind of coaching and said, this is how you should do it, and and the baby was still having trouble. And she said, well, let me try. I remember I said she has young kids. So she took the baby, she went to the other room, and she started breastfeeding our child.
That's crazy.
And I just thought, is there no limit to what this woman is willing to do for me and for my family and for our child? Is there no limit? I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I have no words to express how extraordinary she was. And I have to say too, it wasn't just her, because then there was a whole team. There was an anesthesiologist who we didn't really use very much of services. Then a pediatrician came in. It was funny because at the end, again, because the baby was kind of stuck, and so it was like, me and the pediatrician were like literally pushing on her belly, and then the doctor was like, I mean, it was this whole team effort, but everybody was great. Everybody was great. The nurses, the staff, even the orderlies who were coming in, cleaning up. I mean, everybody was polite, professional, courteous.
Yeah.
I was blown away, but I mean, but just the coup de grace for the whole thing, just at the very end, it all, she's breastfeeding my child, trying to, help. I was just blown away.
Yeah.
I was blown away. Now, all that, all together, all that kind of service, just the perfection, just the level of care and attention, and all the physicians and all the staff and all the people in the hospital, the water birth, the facilities, and the presidential suite, and everything all together was 70,000 pesos, which is about $3,500.
That's incredible.
You tell me where you are going to find
Yeah.
a deal like that.
With that kind of quality.
$3,500 for that kind of quality.
I can't even imagine.
I was blown away. I was blown away. That has been my experience here. That has been my experience.
Yeah.
I've been blown away. We've had, people made house calls. We had to go to the pediatrician the other day. Everything's fine. We went to the pediatrician on Saturday. Sent the guy a text. All these people we talked to on we text them. They use WhatsApp, or trying to get everybody to shift to like Signal or
No, they love their WhatsApps in Mexico.
They love WhatsApp. Yeah, they love WhatsApp, but it's huge. Everyone in Latin America, everybody's on WhatsApp. Now, I don't use WhatsApp anymore because I hate Zuckerberg and everything that he's done to privacy, but that's a whole other thing. Anyways, I'm probably going to get banned from something for saying that. But anyways, the Facebook censors are going to cancel this podcast. Yeah. But anyways, you text everybody. So we texted the pediatrician. This is on Saturday. This guy's day off. We said, hey, we think there's so yeah, no problem. Come into my office. I'll meet you there. So we go over to the guy's office. He does very thorough. Everything's fine, but he's incredibly thorough examination, all sorts of stuff, and gave us all sorts of great advice. He said, if you see this, then do this. I mean, because it's my first job, I don't know anything, and so he's like, try this, do this. I mean, it was like this whole laundry list of stuff, and he spent forever with us. And then you were sitting there, and it's like, in the end, I'm like, okay, so, and I'm like, how much? It's like, oh, it's what was it? Yeah, 600 pesos. That's
no way.
$30. It's $30. And I'm just like, that's not even a copay. If you have the best insurance plan in the world in the United States, you got the best, you have the perfect, whatever Obama envisioned when he came up with Obamacare, with what healthcare was supposed to be. Even then, you couldn't deal with $30. And I just thought, oh my God, so I gave the guy $1,000 just because I'm like, please, like.
Yeah.
But again, that's just consistently been my experience here, is just incredibly high quality of service with people that really, 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 truly care. And even then, same thing, didn't fill out any paperwork, didn't sign anything, didn't stand in line. I mean, he opened the office just for me. I mean, they were closed. There was nobody else there. He didn't have a receptionist or anything like that. It's just, that's been the quality that I have received consistently, and the prices that I've been paying, I've been blown away.
No, this is just such an incredible story.
it was what a great decision to have the baby here. So now let's talk about the other stuff, right?
Well, it's
So
like the cherry on top now, I feel like.
right, the cherry on top, which earlier I said this didn't even factor into my calculus at all.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, so my child is a Mexican citizen because she was born here. So she's going to get that along with a whole bunch of other passports. She's got all these passports now. I would say we don't have the passports yet. I mean, all she's doing is sleeping and pooping, whatever. So we try to go.
Eventually have.
Yeah. So, but she has all these citizenships and nationalities. So, that's one of the other things. So we had somebody from the like the administrative office, like the Mexican, statistical office, whatever, come over to my house to hand deliver the official birth certificate, and had made 3, because she's like, you're probably going to need a copy at some point. So she went and made 3 official notarized copies for us as well. So we just have it just in case. So just like, they came over to my house. Like I was just like, we got a knock at the door. I'm like, who's this? And some lady came in, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm from the whatever call it office. And I was like, this is amazing. And so baby's a Mexican national, along with all the others that she has as well. Mommy and daddy get instant permanent residency as well, because as the father of a Mexican national, I am entitled to permanent residency. The cool thing about permanent residency in Mexico is it's not like permanent residency in other places. Even, for example, like in the United States, like a US green card, we say, oh, you have permanent residency, but it's a conditional permanent residency. It's provisional permanent residency. You have to renew it. You've got to go back and reapply and all these sorts of things. And that's actually quite common in a lot of parts of the world. In Mexico, permanent residency is actually permanente. It is truly permanent. I don't have to go and reapply. I don't have to whatever. I don't have to grovel. I don't have to, whatever. It's just like I'm for life. I'm a permanent resident now in Mexico because my child was born here. Grandma and grandpa, it goes another generation. Grandma and grandpa can get permanent residency because their grandchild was born here in Mexico. And I don't know about them. I need to ask the question. It might be the same for them, but for me, at least for mommy and daddy, we have permanent residency and we are entitled to Mexican citizenship if we live here for 2 years. And it's not, you don't have to spend the whole time. It's like there's a certain number of days in that 2-year period, but basically after 24 months, if you spend whatever, 12 to 18 months, I forget what it is, in a 2-year period, then you're eligible. You could apply for naturalization. What I found is that, in Mexico, there's definitely a bureaucracy. There's definitely, whatever it is, processes that take time. However, I've also come to find that many of these processes can be short-circuited and at least expedited. And, things that might take a while end up taking a lot less time than you would expect. And so literally, a permanent residency process instead of, really, really long time could take days, weeks. And, by the way, like yours, you have your residency.
Well, mine is temporary because apparently I'm too young.
Yours is temporary because you didn't have a child.
That's true.
And your but your temporary can become permanent.
I'll renew after 4 years, and exactly.
Right, and then you'll have a permanent residency.
Exactly.
But your residency was super fast, and you didn't have to go. And people are like, oh, you have to go and bribe somebody. Like you didn't do any of that.
No, it's all legit.
It was all good. Yeah. So it's been a really cool process. So we'll end up with, we'll have permanent residency. We're actually today going to get that paperwork, and they said, oh yeah, it should be like a couple of days. I'm like, okay. So we'll have that. And then, if we so choose at some point, again, like I'm in Puerto Rico, I live in Puerto Rico, and that's the deal, and that will continue to be the case for the foreseeable future. But if at some point in my life down the road, I decide, hey, I want to go live in Mexico, I would be able to come back here, and after a certain number of days in a 2-year period, I would be eligible for naturalization and a Mexican passport.
Mm.
So that's really cool. And it might even extend to grandma and grandpa. But I thought it was pretty cool that grandma and grandpa can get
this is definitely like in terms of
permanent
having
residency.
in terms of having second residency, Mexico is definitely the easiest option out of all.
Yeah.
Especially
Super
the fact
easy.
that it extends to your grandparents. Like you don't ever see that anywhere else.
I've never seen it. So it's a cool thing. So the fun part now is, now this is the fun part. This is the not fun part is now I got to go deal with the, so Mexico's been great. Now I got to go deal with the United States because if I want to go back home to Puerto Rico, my child needs a U.S. passport. They won't let her in with a Mexican passport because whatever that she's got to have a U.S.
She's
passport.
A terrorist.
Yeah, she's a little terrorist. Yeah, so she's got to have her U.S. passport. So we knew this was the case, and so like months ago, we realized, okay, like, well, we knew the process was, so we started looking at it online. And, we said, okay, you've got to, when you're born abroad, a child that's born abroad, you've got to go get a certificate of birth abroad or something like that. You take the Mexican birth certificate to the U.S. consulate, and then they go, okay, here you go. Here's a U.S. birth certificate. And then with that, then you can apply for a passport for the child. All that takes place at the consulate. Now, the consulate only works by appointment. You don't just get to show up to the consulate. You have to have an appointment, and that's been the case for a long time. But obviously, because of COVID, the number of appointments that they give are really, really low because they have to limit capacity inside of the consulate and all this stuff. And so yeah, the number of appointments is very scarce, and the number of people that need stuff is kind of increased. So we started looking basically in April, saying, okay, well, let's try and let's go in advance.
Sorry, it looks like we had some technical glitch and Zoom decided to kick James out. Apparently they didn't like what you were talking about.
Yeah, whatever I was about to diss the US government pretty hard. So they apparently kicked me off my own podcast.
Anyways, you were talking about like making an appointment at the US
embassy. So we knew in advance that we were going to have to make an appointment at the consulate. So we came here in April, we started looking for, something in late June, July. There's nothing available, nothing in August, nothing in September, October, November, December, all the way up to January. No appointments available in all of the cities they have, because they have consulates in Merida, Monterrey, Guadalajara, Mexico City, Tijuana, and nothing available in any of these places. And it's like, so we emailed the consulate, we're like, we're about to have a kid here and we can't get back to the US to Puerto Rico until we get a passport, but we can't get a passport unless there's a consular appointment. There's no appointments. And you know what their answer was? Oh, you just have to make an appointment.
Of course.
And it's like, are you like, and so we went back and forth with ridiculousness a couple of times. We're just like, how dense do you not understand this? So we were just basically, it was like this daily ritual. We found out like at what time they would update the appointments and all this. So we're just like refreshing. And every day, we would look and see, well, maybe there's a cancellation, whatever. And a couple of weeks ago, well, there was some cancellation in July. And so, okay, and we snatched it up. And, you have to fill out a bunch of stuff. It's like, what's the child's name and all this, what's the date of birth? We're like, well, I don't know what the date of birth is because we haven't had the kid yet, but, so anyway, so we have the appointment now. And then we started, looking at all the rules and the requirements and everything like that. And you just look at it and go, God, this is so stupid because, they want all this stuff. And like the photo one is actually the most hilarious because you have to have the photo and it's like with the eyes open looking at the camera. And we tried to go do this the other day and and she was not having any of it.
She's like, constantly sleeping.
Right. She's like, I don't want to do any of this. And so she's asleep and you're like, wake up, baby, and trying to get her to like look at the camera. And she's like crying. She gets super stressed, whatever. And so you got these photos and it's like, no, that's not good enough. It's like, this is a 3-day-old child. Like, what do you expect? And so she's She's not a terrorist. Like, what do you want from this? Like, why are you even bother taking a photo of a baby that's going to look totally different in 2 months?
Yeah.
And she's going to have this passport photo that they insist she's got to have exactly like this with these dimensions and this background and all this kind of stuff. It's like, she can't even hold up her head. I mean, it's just, but like, I can't go back to the US with my child until all this stuff gets resolved. It's just like, God, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. And like, I know like I'm going to have to battle with these people who are just so unyielding and so inflexible and all these stupid rules that don't actually matter and don't make the world a better place. It's just stupid and inconveniencing. And it seems like this should just be common sense, but they just haven't figured this out. So anyways, that's the next challenge. But like I said, in general, like, it's been great. All the Mexico stuff has been great. And I couldn't be happier. So,
this is just, again, this is just such an incredible story. Yeah.
As you're a great example of, you don't have to have a baby in Mexico if you want residency.
No, you don't.
You just went and did it.
Yeah, anyone can do it. Like I did, I went to Mexico consulate in the US. I had my appointment. It took about an hour. I did it there. And then I went to Mexico City. It's like step 2. Again, it took me about an hour and it was done. Yeah, super, super easy. They're so welcoming.
Yeah, you had a very quick experience, and it was all pleasant except for getting chased by crazy men
in the US.
In downtown Las Vegas. Yeah, in downtown Las Vegas.
Mexico part was perfect.
So, yeah. So, but that's good. Yeah, I mean, we've written about it a lot as Plan Bs go for a lot of folks. Again, everybody has his or her own likes and dislikes, and there's plenty of places in the world. We spent a lot of time talking about Panama. Panama under its Friendly Nations visa program has been great. They are making some changes. Total Access members, we did a recording recently with one of our attorneys there.
I'm going through the process myself next week, and I'm sure we can do one podcast or I can share my experience after I go through it.
Yeah, you're going to do it yourself. That's kind of long been an easy one, but they are making some changes to that. It's going to be, I've said this a lot. I mean, I've written about this a lot. I say, there's a cost to these things, right? And a lot of these programs, initially, the cost is very low. And when I say cost, I don't necessarily mean like money that you have to pay and fees and things like that. I just mean sort of like the ease, how easy it is to do these things. And, or like how much you have to invest or how much time it takes or whatever. And the cost is very low. And when you find high quality sort of residency programs that are low cost, i.e. they're really easy and et cetera, well, the supply and demand imbalances are eventually going to kick in to where that they're getting flooded with demand. And eventually that means that the cost is going to go up.
That's or they'll have to change the law. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So that's what happened in Chile. Chile was it still is very high quality residency, very high quality passport, all these things. The cost was so low. It was just this easy thing. You show up, you sign a piece of paper, poof. I mean, we all became Chilean residents. It was so easy. And the cost was so low. And then sure enough, sort of word leaked out to like half of the world's developing countries that decided, hey, I want to take advantage of that. And they all showed up and just flooded the system. And now the cost is higher. Not necessarily that they changed anything, but just that there's so much backlog now in the system, it takes forever. Yeah. And so that's essentially, I view that as time is a resource. And because it takes more time is a cost, right? So the cost increased because it takes more time. In Panama, they're making it more expensive, not necessarily in terms of the out-of-pocket fees or anything like that, but in terms of the investment that they want to see and all these sorts of things. Like it's not as easy. It's not going to be as easy when the new rules kick in for the Friendly Nations visa. So this is sort of the thing. It's like when there's a good opportunity that's on the table. It makes sense always to do your due diligence, do your research, make a rational decision about whether or not it's the right option for you. But once you've made that decision, then you should execute, right? Don't delay, don't procrastinate, and don't procrastinate on the analysis and the decision making. It's one of those things where it's like, you see something go, it's because I know how this usually works. You get something go, oh, that looks interesting. And like, oh, I'll have to think about that. I'll have to look at that, later. And that's when you start to lose out on things. And whether it's, investment opportunities or relationships with other people or whatever the case may be. I mean, how many times have we said, oh, that was an interesting person, or that was a very, attractive woman or whatever. And then just, then the opportunity's gone. Because that's the thing, is the procrastination, delays, whatever, are this, and so it's the same thing with these sorts of, plan B style things. It's an opportunity that's on the table, instead of saying like, oh, I'll have to look into that. No, just look into it. Just do it. Get together with the people that you need to make the decision with, your family or whoever else, and say, hey, this is what's on the table. Let's understand this, see if it's right for us. And once you make that decision, just don't procrastinate, because all of a sudden you might find at some point down the road, it won't be tomorrow or the next day or the day after that. But, that's the thing about procrastination, is that you say, oh, I'll look at it next week or next month, turns into next year. And next thing you know, they changed the law. So right now, this happening in Panama, and then look, there are plenty of places in the world. They've done this with a lot of these golden residency programs.
Yeah, like Portugal just changed the law again. Yeah, you have only a couple months now. Yeah.
Right. Where you could, used to be, you could buy whatever property you wanted to, and, you didn't, now they have all these restrictions and the amount that you've got to invest and all these things that have changed. So that's a great lesson, is that once you decide, when something looks interesting, you should take the time really and decide, this is a yes or it's a no. And either option is fine. It's up to you. You're the decider here. It's your decision-making process, whatever. It's too expensive, or it's not the option that I want, or whatever it is, doesn't fit into what I want for my plan B. Fine, but make the decision and rule it out or rule it in, whatever the case may be. And then if you got some action to take, then do it, because these things won't be, they just don't linger around forever. So that's an important thing to bear in mind. Yeah.
That's very true. And thanks again for sharing your story. And I hope we'll be chatting again next week.
Okay. All right. We have 3 in a row. So we're on a streak now. So thanks everybody for listening.
All right. Thank you.